What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today in my video I want to talk about Gotham Knights, and I think, in my opinion, the developers ought to double down with the systems that they put in place in this game, fine-tune some of the things that need a little bit of polish, and eventually make their next game a reflection of their experience that they have with this title. Now, some people may disagree, but at the end of the day, if you are more of, say, in the audience that played and enjoyed the game, you would probably not disagree. You would more than likely disagree if you actually did play the game and didn't like it, or maybe you didn't play the game and didn't like it, which you still confuse me if you're in that category. I'm not saying anything is wrong with it. I'm just saying I'm confused how you don't like an item that you haven't necessarily tried in terms of especially a video game. It's kind of weird. But at the end of the day, I think Gotham Knights was one of those games that went through a lot of noise. Hogwarts Legacy is going through its own noise phase right now. Gotham Knights went through its own, it's not Arkham. The developer should have maybe made the game like Arkham, make it look like Arkham, or make it this, that. But then when you look at, say, something like the Steam page for Gotham Knights, you'll realize that people who actually did play the game, about 70% of them had a favorability towards the game. In fact, in the last 30 days, the user rating is 57%. That's based on the people who actually dropped their reviews in the last month. But the game has been going through some technical issues as well, like crashing. But initially, you had about a 70 to 72% of gamers who actually did enjoy the game. So it's kind of a hit or miss, but you will still see for the majority more people like the game as compared to, say, maybe Callisto Protocol or Call of Duty. So thinking about this, the developers need to listen to those people who actually did enjoy the game, because this is how they're going to be able to take notes and pretty much move on in making sure that their core fan base is actually served. One thing about video games is sometimes fans could be in a position where they seem to think they want something, but it's not exactly what it is that they want. The reality is a lot of fans in the superhero genre wanted another Arkham style game, but Warner Brothers Montreal was not making another Arkham style game, so the audience that actually enjoyed their game is the audience they need to cater to. So I think the developers can basically double down by making sure the RPG mechanics are actually deeper. With Gotham Knights on a light and a surface level, I think the developers did a very good job in bringing an RPG aspect to the game. I'm sure somebody will be like, how can you say such a thing? Well, I mean, there are people in the community that are telling me that a shooter, because it's made by Rocksteady, is going to be a great thing, and it's nice for them to have something different. So why should an RPG be treated any different? So I'm going to continue my conversation. Now, Gotham Knights had this RPG element to it that seemed to me a little light on the touch. And I understand what the developers were probably trying to do. They were probably trying to go in a way where they didn't make the RPG elements too deep and then lose a lot of people. Because by and large, a lot of RPG players are into the depth of mechanics. But in superhero games, RPGs have not necessarily been tried and tested for the long run. For the most part, you have a high number of action-adventure superhero titles, and that's what's been tested, that's what's been implemented, and that's what's shown to be successful. For the RPG side, Gotham Knights is unique in a sense, and we haven't necessarily seen a lot of RPGs in the superhero genre. So that's actually nice that we got to see Gotham Knights overall. So when you think about it, what the developers can do is in their next game, if they're going to make it an RPG game, which I hope they do, they need to make sure that the mechanics are deep, that the mechanics are actually representative of what a good RPG should look like, and in every way possible, they need to take the mechanics that they used in Gotham Knights and make it actually super strong. Because at the end of the day, what hardcore players want is the ability for them to be able to change up their gameplay in many different ways. You already have that here in Gotham Knights, no doubt, but we need to see it in a whole different level, like the Division-esque kind of depth. Not talking about what they have here. What they have here is slightly along the lines of, say, Destiny level depth, but the Division depth of RPG mechanics is actually way more, intricate. It's more complex, more complicated, a lot of number crunching. And this is where the hardcore communities in terms of RPG can actually find a lot of their fun. And at the end of the day, I think a live service element will be the way to complement that. Now, I've noticed that there's this kind of a conversation surrounding live service games like, oh, live service games, it just means everything is bad. A lot of the people that say things like this end up playing a bunch of live service games. That's the challenge. It's like they keep complaining about live service games being bad, but then at the end of the day, they engage in playing a lot of live service games. So I guess there is a middle ground of some sort, maybe, or maybe they just see a live service game and what they think is possibly the issues that plague a lot of live service games will plague the game that they're looking at. And I can understand. Marvel's Avengers did not do a good job in, implementing its live service elements. It basically tried to milk its fan base for the most part. And so many times, if you see, say, a superhero game that's not following the action adventure element, all you think about is Marvel Avengers. But I don't think that's the way to look at things, because a lot of good games will suffer if we go this direction, if we continue to take this approach. One example is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. You see, I made a post on Twitter, and this is one of those posts that I make that just basically stirs up conversation, because I want people to basically say exactly what it is that I'm thinking for the most part. Guardians of the Galaxy has some of the best favorable reviews I've seen on Steam. 94% of its users gave this game a positive review. The most recent reviews sit at 92%. Yet, this game ended up in a sale in November of 2021. Some of you may or may not know, if you were paying attention, a lot of games did go on sale, but this game stayed in the sale bin. Eventually, a few months after the holiday season, it ended up on Game Pass, with Microsoft reportedly, according to the rumors, paying around $2 to $5 million to be able to get the game on Game Pass. This is unfortunate because this is a game, yes, it took a different approach, like the Final Fantasy approach, where you controlled the main character, Star-Lord, and you gave commands to your other accompanying cast. So it wasn't necessarily something like, say, the Arkham games or the Spider-Man games, but it was a nice, unique take on a superhero game. But at the end of the day, it seems like fans, for the most part, judge this game in light of Marvel Avengers. In fact, I've made a Twitter post where I said, I just think superhero games are not so popular. And, from Guardians of the Galaxy not getting a lot of, hits and bringing in a lot of money, I think this is the case. And a lot of people quickly corrected me and said, hey, it's because of Avengers. Well, I knew that. I just wanted to see what people would say. And they pretty much confirmed my suspicions in terms of what it is that a lot of us had suspected. So taking this approach in judging a video game because of other games is something that gamers have made mistakes on and will continue to make these same mistakes about. So, in my opinion, I think the developers here at Warner Brothers Montreal have been able to capture a 70% player base. And I think they need to pretty much play to the needs of that player base themselves, because this is how they're going to grow a community. Because for the most part, a lot of people seem to not even care about them as a studio, because, a lot of people have more favorability towards a studio like Rocksteady. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's nice to have your favorite studios, but once you feel like you've captured your audience, you need to continue to bury down and build games for that audience. In fact, what's crazy is Gotham Knights is not a live service game. Many people have claimed that they think it wanted to be a live service game and then stopped short. I think that's the mistake that they made. They should have gone full-blown live service, because Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has not claimed that it's not a live service game. And so I think it's going to be one, because if you look through the FAQs, they haven't necessarily said anything to that effect. But people are still going to go ahead and tell me that this game looks good and looks fun, yet they're going to say the one that is not a live service game, that's usually the one that's seen in a bad light, is actually poison. So at the end of the day, I think developers, in a sense, I can't blame them for making the games that they just want to make. Now, it's a risk nonetheless, and I'm sure a lot of people are probably saying in their minds, well, next time they should probably make games that appeal to a mainstream of people. I think that's the problem. They tried to appeal to a lot of people with Gotham Knights by making the RPG mechanics somewhat light, and thereby pretty much missing the mark. Because if the RPG mechanics were actually deep, I'm sure a lot of hardcore players would have come and said, hey, what is this that we're hearing about this new game that's called Gotham Knights that has in-depth RPG mechanics? Is this something that we could engage in? And if they could play with maybe more players, like 4 players, like we have in The Division, like we have in Destiny, maybe even go ahead and use a server-based aspect for hosting the entirety of the game, then we would have had the game perform better, maybe at 60 FPS on console, like The Division 2 does, and even The Division 1 on Xbox, and be able to at least get this game to a place where it has its own, core community that continues to support the project. But by and large, I think they kind of shied away from a vision that would have actually been really good, regardless of the noise. So this is also the biggest challenge that a lot of developers are facing. And I think at the end of the day, regardless of what reviews are saying, regardless of what anybody is saying, the developers need to just go ahead and listen to their fan bases, because their fan bases are the ones that actually pay for the game. I mean, if you you think about it, you look at, say, a game like Gotham Knights, even on Xbox, when you think about the way it's been looked at, the way it's been rated, the way it's been perceived, you come to realize that there is something about the way a lot of players have actually seen or look towards the game, because even on the Xbox store, the game has a favorable rating that's still higher than these other games that I just cited. Well, in terms of maybe, say, Call of Duty anyways, and Callisto Protocol. Those are the games I usually cite whenever I'm, speaking about Gotham Knights and so on and so forth, because its user rating is actually pretty high, actually higher than that. So I think the noise got the best of this, this game more than anything else. And whoever got it were the people who actually got to play the game and got to understand exactly what the game was about. So right now, out of 2,000 reviews, if you go and look on the Xbox side of things, you'll notice that the ranking is sitting at a 4 out of 5. That is a solid ranking. I'm shocked. I mean, I looked at, say, another game, let's just say Call of Duty. Call of Duty Xbox, and Call of Duty on Xbox did not get this kind of treatment overall. Now, granted, there are a lot of people who, a lot more people who play it. If you actually go ahead and look at, say, maybe the reviews and look at, say, maybe the, the game details, if I can find it here by now, you will realize that, a lot less people are actually enjoying this game. The review is ranking at a 3, which is crazy. My favorite feature is the uninstall button. Yet here, best Ninja Turtles game I've ever played, 4-star. Just think about each other's role, Nightwing, Leonardo, and all this stuff. People are just talking about, they're having fun with this game. And so I think the developers already have something going for them, and they need to play to it at every cost. So that's pretty much my analysis so far. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you haven't played the game, I recommend that you play it, because it will really help your case. At this point, game's not even expensive, and you can pretty much make a very informed decision. But I think I know exactly what's going to happen. You have one of two possibilities. You're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. And for the most part, it seems like more people are getting to like the game. So it's a big surprise. Peace out.